Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Tracy Show. Of course, I am Tracy. I'll let my guest introduce himself here in just a moment. And before I get started paying bills, I have a plea to every third party candidate that is running for office. I have no one scheduled for May. I have zero interviews scheduled for May. So if you are interested, you can go to on YouTube, Tracy Media 74, and there'll be an about section, and you'll see my email. Send me an email. I have been consistently contacting people. I don't know whether the season is busy or what, but I have no interviews scheduled for May, and I really want to talk to third party candidates. With that being said, um, hit that subscribe button. We are still at 410 subscribers. We need 500. We need 500 so bad. I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribing is free of charge, doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Hit that, smash that, obliterate, destroy that subscribe button, please, and thank you. You can always support me on Patreon. Um, Patreon support starts at $2 per month, which is if there's 4 weeks in the year, 50 cents per week. So with 50 cents, you can do a lot of things. So please consider supporting me on that effort. I'm looking down here because I'm notifying some folks that I'm on air. So I'm sorry, we have 411. So we are 89. Yeah, that sounds right. My math is terrible, but I think we're 89. So um, please support me on Patreon. The Patreon exclusive show will be coming on, which you will not be able to see it on YouTube. So keep that in mind. Also, my personal GoFundMe campaign. I have a lot of personal expenses that I'm facing and I need help. So if you could contribute even $1, that would help. And finally, we are still going to have the after party every third Thursday right after the Tracy Show, which in May we will move to 8 o'clock p.m. We will no longer be on at 7 in May, we'll be on at 8 o'clock p.m. We will most likely talk about, and I'll tell you the topic now. We will be talking about should third party candidates rally behind one presidential candidate, or should we continue on the path that we're proceeding with? That will be the topic. So please sign up. I'll send you a Zoom link, and we will have a great, probably weeks and weeks of discussion. That is it. So, with that all being said and all my bills being paid, I am going to ask my guest to introduce himself.
All right, first let's start with I am one of those third-party candidates that you want on. So here I am doing my part. Okay. I will also put the word out amongst libertarians about filling up some of those spots that you have coming up for May. Because I'm actually I'm on a podcast, a weekly podcast that we have, and over the past couple months, we've specifically been focusing on libertarian candidates. So what I can see about doing, we have a gentleman that works with us. I'll see about putting the word out to him, and maybe he can help you get some of May filled up with some libertarian candidates.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I listen. My name is
Oh, wait a
Jerry.
minute. Hold on.
Yep.
They have to interrupt you. Me and ma'am don't go to West together.
All right.
I'm just like, who?
I have been in the South long enough now that is the thing that it's
hear people say that, and I think I get it from my mother when we were growing up. We would say yes, ma'am, and she would be like, "Don't you ever call me ma'am." And I think I picked that up from her.
Stuck. Where are you from?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
There it is. All right, you're a Yankee like me. So here's what happened. So I'm originally from Connecticut. Okay. So I've been down here in Florida now. And at some point I'll get to what I actually came on here for, but we're fine. So I moved down here to Florida in 2000. And I was not raised in the South. I was raised up in Connecticut. And raising up, we didn't have that yes, sir, yes, ma'am thing up in Connecticut. But it's not a thing. I truly think that's a Southern thing. And it just became a way. And now my boys who were raised up down here, for them, that it is for them. And it truly is. The first time, like the other day, I was in the store and this guy come walking up. And if I had to guess, he's probably his 30s or so. He's like, okay, thank you, sir. And it wasn't just like a yes or no, sir type thing. It was like I think that dude just called me old. And it kind of hit me a certain way. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't feel myself being that old. But this is where we are. Now,
Yeah.
past all of that. So I am a libertarian that I am running for city council here in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, how far do you want me to get into this right from the start?
Well, just tell us, general, you've already told us the office. So, and I'm going to stop trying to make people run for Congress because I've done this 3 or 4 times where the person will literally tell me they're running for local office. And for some reason, I'm just like, oh, well, you're going to run for Congress. I will do my best. But no, you're running for city council in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, ma'am.
you're trying it.
So,
Um,
so what it is so I'm a pastor, and so what started this time here with me running for city. It's actually my second run for city council. Okay, my first one was back in 23, and so what had happened was our church got shut down by the city. And it got shut down because our building had a routine fire inspection, a routine annual fire inspection, that we had been in that building for 5 years at that point, a little over 5 years, never had a fire inspection. And so they came by for routine inspection. And when they did that, they found a bunch of issues inside the building from before we purchased the building. So there was a church there before us, did a bunch of things, did a bunch of build out type stuff. We didn't know. We were going about our business. So we got shut down by the city. And what it was, in all honesty, I had gone and I started kind of pushing back a little bit. And my whole thing was, okay, what do we have to do? What is the process to fix the issues? Like, we were willing to fix the problems, but we had to be told what the problems were. And that was the problem of dealing with the city. And so I tried, when we first started having these issues, I tried to reach out to city council members. Like, hey, can you help me? What's the best way to handle this? And they didn't care. There was zero interest. Finally, I reached out. Now, here's what happens. In Jacksonville, we have 19 city council members, 14 individual districts, and 5 at-large seats. They cover the whole city. And so I reached out to the local one. He didn't care. I finally got a hold of one at-large member who was willing to at least talk to me and find out what we could do. And when I got there, he ended up, I didn't know this was going to happen, but he had a table full of city officials sitting there. And so as we were going through the process, we kind of realized the problem was sitting with the fire chief. And so I kind of called him out on it. Like, hey, this is kind of a you failing that we can't get this done. So he got mad. And so in his getting mad, he actually, that happened on a Tuesday, and the following Sunday morning, he came in and shut down our church in the middle of service. So at that point right there, I was like, okay, we dealt with the issues. We're dealing with the issues. So I reached out. You know how local news people always have that guy in your corner, the guy on your side type of thing. So I reached out to the local one here. Ken Amaro was his name. Great guy. And he reached back out a hold of me, covered the story, put it on the news. I got a call from the city saying, hey, come down. We need to talk. So I get down there, and I remember at one point I'm talking to the gentleman who's in charge of basically zoning, if you will, kind of. It's a big heading. And I remember at one point we're talking, and he looks at me, he goes, well, over there, and he points like out in his office window, and I kind of turn around and look like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, City Hall. I said, I don't want to deal with them. He says, well, they're dealing with you. Because what had happened was when it got on the news, it caught fire, and they didn't like it. It was bringing heat to them. So here's what happened. As I started going through that process with the city, I started realizing there's a lot of messed up stuff going on. And it was that right there, because here's what I tell people. I say it all the time. I always tell people, I said, you can't complain and do nothing. You got to be willing to do something. And then at that point, it kind of hit me like, oh, man, that applies to me also. Like, I got to be willing to do something. And so city council was that something. That was my way of saying, hey, I'm willing to get in the fight and do something about it. And if you think about it, a lot of people who run for local office, a lot of times they've been burned by government. It's something sparked them into action, whether they did directly, family member, friend, or whatever. They kind of got something that said, hey, I don't like the fact that this is happening, and it causes them to run. So I ran that time. And then this time here, I'm going to be honest with you, Miss Tracy, I didn't have a big desire to be running for city council again. I just didn't. But
Right, because this isn't your first time running.
yeah, and to be honest with you, I was like, okay, I've said my thing. I'm done. Here's the thing, though. All the same problems that I noticed before were still going on. And as we are running for office here locally, so there was a number of people that we go to events and we speak at, and I got to know a number of the other people running for other offices and stuff like that. And some of them got elected to city council. So I know these guys who are sitting on city council, and they're not doing the things that they said they were going to do. And that just drives me crazy, because I'm like, I know you said that because I was standing right next to you when you said it. So that was kind of my thing. I'm like, you know what? Nobody's doing it. Nobody seems to be doing what they said they're going to do. And let me be very clear. That's not a Republican or Democrat issue. That's a Republican and Democrat issue. Both of them.
Absolutely.
Both sides are doing it. And so I was just kind of like, it just got to me. And then here's what happened. So we had another issue that I was trying to reach out to my local councilwoman. Okay. And she wouldn't answer. Since then, I have put 5 different requests out to her about meeting with her. Nothing. And let me be honest with you. Some of the reason I wanted to reach out to her was because the last time I ran for city council, I ran for one of those at-large seats, the whole city. And that's just huge, because Jacksonville itself is just under the size of Rhode Island. It's massive. So this time here, I'm running in my district, just closer to around here, which in a lot of cities would probably still be almost a mayoral race, realistically. So I started to try to reach out to her because I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me see what's going on in the district to see if I even can help. Because my thing is, if I can't help, I won't waste anybody's time, effort, or money. Just, you know what? I'm not the guy for you, and it's fine. But she never replied back. And then as I've started going around now, everybody says the same thing. She never replies back. She doesn't contact anybody for whatever reason. And from what I'm understanding, it doesn't make any difference what party they're in either. She just does. So here's what happened. It's going to be now, she's getting termed out. So at that point, she'll have been in for 10 years. She got appointed for 2 years and was able to run 2 full terms after that. So she's come to a point where she doesn't care. And so my whole thing is, you know what people really need? Somebody who's going to listen. Somebody who they actually feel, hey, wait a minute. If I get a hold of him, he's going to listen to me. He's going to try to do something. Because I stopped going down to city council meetings, because at the beginning of our city council meetings, they have an open forum. Everybody come up and talk, whatever they got going on. And here's what I found. People go up there, explain what they got going on for whatever issue they have. The city council members don't even listen. I sit there and I watch them. They're messing on their phones. They're talking to each other. Some are just getting up and walking out. And that kind of gets to me, because that is specifically their time to hear what the people think and what they're dealing with. And they don't care. And so I think that we've all kind of come to this point. Maybe the same thing for you. You kind of come to this point where it feels like nobody's listening. Nobody seems to care. They say all the things that they need to say to get into office. And then after that, they figure they can just ride it out. And so this run here is basically a continuation, if you will, of my first run.
Now, thank you for going over that, because I was like, I think he's ran before. Here is my question. So Jacksonville, Florida has how many people in terms of the district, not the whole city, but the district that you're
My
serving?
district is going to be sitting at roughly 48,000 people, right around there.
Okay. And are you on the ballot?
So we have qualifying in January. Okay, so nobody gets on the ballot until January. The election is in March. So you qualify in January. And now here's the thing. So running the first time, you can get petitions. Now, I'm going to be fair in what I'm about to say. Florida is not very hard. They're pretty user-friendly about getting on the ballot. They're not terrible. Because you hear some states, it's horrible, especially for third party. It's horrible. And so Florida's not terrible, but so you can either pay your way on, which I hate the idea of giving government free money, okay? Or you can get petitions. Now, we started doing the petition process the first election, and it's a mess. Now, let me explain it a little bit. So when we were, in fact, you know what? Eric Parker, who was running with us, he was on your show a couple of years back. Eric was on with you. And so we were running for city council. And I remember I was getting petitions signed. And when you first get petitions, they tell you, hey, bring a few in to kind of start the process. I get it. It's fine. So we got some done. And him and I, Eric and I went in together to get turn in some petitions. And here's what's funny. So when you hand them in, they kind of flip through them, just kind of briefly kind of look over them. You know, they're not doing anything in depth. And I remember while I'm there, they hand one back to me. And they go, I'm going, oh, they go, this one's no good. And it's Eric, who's standing right next to me. I said, Eric. So I started joking around with him. I'm like, Eric, how is it you don't know how to fill out petitions? Kind of harassing him a little bit. So here's what happened. So we kind of all joked and laughed about it a little bit. And he filled out a whole nother one while standing there. I found out a few days later, they kicked his out again. And so that's when I realized the petition process, it's not set up well. So at that point, I decided, you know what, forget it. As much as I hate to, I'll just pay the fee to get on the ballot. And so this time, after learning from running the first time, I said from the very beginning, I'm not going to worry about trying to go through the petition process because you know, you deal with a lot of third-party people, obviously. And so third parties have an uphill battle the whole way, the whole time. The system is not made to help us get along. And so I remember when I was trying to get petitions, and let me tell you something that like I struggle with. So first off, people don't know what the Libertarian Party is. That's issue number one. Okay. So we have to spend a lot of our time explaining who we are, what we believe. The other part of it is they'll go, I remember one time I was out there getting petitions signed, and there's a guy that I was talking to. He's like, oh, okay. And then he looked at it for a second. He goes, oh, you're running against a guy I know. I said, yeah. I said, I guess I am. And he said his name. I'm like, yeah, okay. He goes, I can't sign your petition. And that's always bothered me because I will tell you what, I will sign the petition of anybody. Anybody who's trying to run for office, I will sign a petition because we need more voices, not less voices. And so I've signed petitions for people who are running against me. I don't care. We need more voices out there. So this time here, I says, I'm not going to go through that petition process. I'm not even going to start it. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to do it. So I bypassed it. And so right now, the fee, it's going to change a little bit because they're all getting a raise. And it's based off of the salary of the council members. And I think it's like 3% is what it's going to be. So the fee, because the state of Florida, the Libertarian Party of Florida, they waive their fees. So they don't make us pay that money into the system. So they waive that. So I'm going to have roughly $3,000 to get on the ballot. And so what I'm doing this time is the same thing I did last time. I make it very clear that I am raising my money right now to pay for my ballot access. And then what I do is I put all that money in the account. It sits in the account. It stays in the account. I don't touch it. I don't mess with it. I don't buy anything with it. I don't do anything. That money stays. And then everything we start raising after that, because my thing is you don't want to do a bunch of promotional things and then not qualify to be on the ballot anyway. So I just to me, I try to be a wise steward with money, which is part of the problem here in town. They're not being wise stewards with money. And so try to be a wise steward, like the best thing that I can do. And I try to be very honest with people about why I'm raising money specifically. Like I'll tell them specifically what it's for, because you've seen it watching the two big parties. There is a lot of fraud and there's a lot of issues when it comes to money. So I'd rather just be upfront about it and just say, hey, here's what it's going to. So for right now, I'm not doing the petition process. And right now I'm saving the funds to pay for ballot access, which starts in January.
Do you mean January 2027?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, Tracy.
Okay. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is April.
Everything's off, isn't it? Like I missed the election altogether. So the election is actually next March.
Okay, it's next year. Okay, got it.
Yes.
That's fine. You're doing planning. I wanted to ask a question because you said you're a pastor. I'm going to assume, and I hate to assume, I'm going to assume you're in the Christian sects of pastors.
Yes, ma'am. As opposed to
Well, I've had a lot of people say they're pastors.
Uh-huh.
You missed my Easter show. So I did this whole Easter show, which I've done every single year since I've had a YouTube channel. And I talked a little bit about this. So when people call themselves pastors,
Uh-huh.
I start giving them the side eye,
Okay.
especially when they want to run for office, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I've always thought, as a person that grew up in church, grew specifically in Black church, and yes, audience, there is a difference. There is a distinctive difference. Not that we're out here worshiping different guys, but there's a distinct
Oh, the
difference.
way they do church is different. Black, listen. Oh, all right, let me tell you this. The spirit side of Black church is amazing. Like I love how Black people go to church. And this is the South. Listen, I tell people all the time, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I tell people this is the South, and if you want to see segregation, okay, even today, go to church on Sunday morning, and
Exactly.
it's very separated. I don't know, like I know Black pastors, bishops that I'm friends with and everything, and none of us want it that way. We're not striving to be separated. It's just what it does.
Right.
Just what it
Yeah,
does.
that's what it gets to. And that's because of our history and all those things. But
Yep.
as a person that grew up in that, it was reared into us, it was grilled into us that pastors should not assume political office. And this is because we look to our pastors for leadership cues
Mhm.
and how we're supposed to act. Although you could read this book called the Bible, but I'm just going to skip over that. But we look to those people, right? And so when that pastor's running for office,
Mhm.
assuming that you win, because we're just going to say you're going to win,
Yes, ma'am.
do you plan on keeping pastoring or are you going to just let it go once you're in that city council office?
Let me be very clear of two things. My calling is not council member. My calling is pastor. Okay,
Okay.
pastor is always first. I'll tell you that right now. In fact, before I even run, I talk with the church. Guys, are we okay with this? And I get the approval of the church because that's highest priority. Now, also bear in mind, our city council here is technically a part-time position. Everybody on there, unless they're
Oh,
retired.
okay. That's what they okay. I
Yeah,
understand because I
which is odd because it's a big city. We right now we hover right about 1 million people, so we're not a tiny little city. But they keep, and I'll tell you why I believe they do this. They actually a number of years back. Okay, this is before I was a pastor or any of those type of things. I was helping a gentleman. He was running a small little campaign, and I was helping him run. And I remember he was working for a Dollar General. He was a manager for a Dollar General. And I remember we went and we met with one of the guys who was on city council at that time. And this guy said, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to quit my job at Dollar General and I'm going to focus on running for running city council." And the guy's like, "No, absolutely not. We don't do that. We always stay working." And then I started realizing, because you have the ability to influence things, especially for the company or the nonprofit or whatever it is you're working with, if you're sitting on city council. So I believe the reason why they say we're keeping as a part-time job is so that they can hold on to all of those other things. So for me, I'm going to tell you right now, church is first. Now, I'll give you a little background so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. So when we started the church, actually, we just had our 15-year anniversary just 2 weekends ago. And so when we started the church, I was bivocational. I was a teacher. So I was teaching Bible at a local Christian school, and we had the church going. And the church grew to a point where I couldn't do both anymore. It was just getting to be a lot. And so I left the school and went to the church full time. Now, I say that to say this. I was taking $0 from the church. I was not getting paid from the church at all. Our goal was we got to grow this church up. There's bigger things to worry about than salaries. So when I went to church full time, I still was not getting paid. My wife and I, we took the struggle, we took the fight, we did the changes in life so that we could do that. And I can honestly tell you now, my pay is still way less even from when I was teaching still 13 years ago. So I can tell you that the church is not money for me. It's a calling. So that's why I say that, because church is always going to be first for me. And like I make that abundantly clear through these type of things, conversations like this. Church will always be first. And so I hope that helps you understand where I'm coming from
It
as far
does
as that
because
goes.
I think about that one especially when I see, and I always think of federal offices, so pardon me, but I always think, well, how you gonna be president and you pastor it? What you gonna do? Cancel meeting with Kim Jong Il because, well, I got
This,
convention this week. Oh, for people that don't know what convention is, so convention is when the denominations they meet up and they do retreats and
yep.
Bible studies and all those type of things. So when I say convention, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, well, how does that work? No, thank you for explaining that to me because now at least I have a better, because I always
Now,
thought this is a bad
if I was
idea.
if I was president, I might have to give up the pastorate. I don't know if I'd be able to successfully pull off leading a church and president, but I can assure you, city council is an easy fix. Now, let me explain something further, because here's what tends to happen. This is honestly what I thought you were going to ask me. So people tend to fear that if you get it, well, it doesn't have to be a pastor, a Christian. You get a Christian in government, and they're like, uh-oh, they're going to pass all of their Christian beliefs inside of law, and they're going to
Oh
make
no,
it
I wouldn't assume you would. I would assume the Libertarian Party is for, do what suits you.
right. So here's the thing. Like I often tell people, say, listen, I've seen what government does to things that they're supposed to be in charge of. I don't want them in charge of my faith. Okay. Like I don't, and I tell people all the time, I say, here's what's happened. Christians have gotten lazy. Okay. Christians, instead of going out and making disciples, because once you make disciples, areas change. It shows it in the Bible. Okay. You go out and you make disciples. So here's what they did. They got lazy. They don't want to go out and make disciples anymore. They basically just want to vote Christians into office so that Christians can make rules to make people act like Christians. That doesn't make them Christians. And all it does is it makes more criminals, because now there's just more laws for people to break. So I often point out, I say, hey, listen, and I had this conversation with pastors because they don't get it. I'm going to be honest with you. Pastors don't always get it. And I said, listen, I says, we are not called to make laws. We are called to make disciples. If you look at the Apostle Paul, every time that he went into a new city through the book of Acts, he never once went to the political leaders and said, hey, make some laws to make these people act like Christians. That's not what he did. He went in and he preached the gospel and he made Christians, and areas changed. So if we go as Christians and do our role, we make disciples, we don't make laws. So I am against the idea. Now, let me be very clear with you. I am a very strict Christian. Everybody who knows. Now, I joke and mess around a lot, but I'm a very strict Christian in lifestyle. Okay. And when I was running last time, there was actually a strip club that was getting shut down by the city. And I jumped in to that fight on behalf of the strip club. Now, I made it very clear. I said, guys, I don't condone the behavior in there. I'm not taking part of the behavior in there. And I give all the things that had to be cleared up. I said, I'm not doing any of this, but they have a right to proceed with a service without government interference. And that's what was happening. A couple of the council members didn't like what they were doing, so they got them shut down. And then they started bragging about it. And I tried to explain to everybody, I said, listen, I don't want the strip club either. I don't go to the strip club. But they shut down the strip club. What's next? And so what happens is people forget about the what's next. We get together, we go, yeah, we should stop that, whatever that is. Well, here's the problem with government. Once they get their hands on something, they don't give it back again. That's a freedom you've lost. And so I tell people, I says, if government grabs this one thing, what's the next thing they're going to grab? And then how long is it before they finally get to the church? Because all the Christians want to make a big deal out of it. Well, listen, the more you allow government to grab, at some point, they're going to grab at you. That's the reality of it.
And I asked that question because this is where I think third parties literally drop the ball. I've argued this and no one seems to want to listen to what I'm saying. I'm like, if most people profess to be Christians, you need to be having conversation. When you say, oh, I don't want to talk to churches. Hello, that's where people go. I mean, not as in high numbers as they used to,
Right.
but I'm saying when you say you don't want to engage that community, well, common sense says you're going to lose every single time because you're not engaging that community.
You know what happens when people forget? Christians vote. Let's be very clear. Christians vote.
Exactly.
They vote. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. So one day I was out and I was walking the neighborhood, knocking on doors, putting things out. And I remember I was walking out there, and I kind of catch people. And there was this one lady, she was sitting on the other side of the street that I was heading down. And I was just kind of doing the loop and coming back up. And as I came back up, she was sitting out in her thing. And she looks at me, she goes, I was wondering when you was going to get to me. She goes, what are you doing? And I've explained to her, hey, I'm running for city council. And so we started talking about, first off, here's part of the problem. As we're talking, she goes, hang on. And she goes inside. She grabs her sample ballot that comes in the mail. And she looks at it. And the only race that she didn't have filled in already was my race. And she goes, what is LPF? I'm like, that's the Libertarian Party. And I said, you see that thing right there? She goes, yeah. I said, that's me. And she goes, oh. Now, in that conversation, we started talking about church. And I started explaining it to her, very similar to what I just explained to you, what the Apostle Paul did, things along those lines. And in that conversation, she goes, you know what? That's right. Now, this is a church-going woman. She had the bumper sticker on her car with her church. So she's not just kind of casually. If you have the bumper sticker, you're pretty involved. And even then, she was willing to go, wait a minute. So here's what happens. When you say third parties, I'll say Libertarian Party in particular, you're right. We do fail. Now, I don't want to say we only fail with the Christians. That's just a section of the area that we fail. But it's the same premise. I'll give you an example. So one time when I was, just one time I failed miserably, just once. So one time I failed miserably in campaigning. And so right up, I'm going to point, like you can see up where I'm pointing to. So right up there, street up there, there's a little convenience store. And they got this little canopy type thing that sits out there next to the store. And it's in the middle of the Black community, right up here. I point to it. It's right there. Middle of Black. So there's a bunch of old Black guys all sitting out there. They're out there all day, just out there talking life, whatever's going on. And I kept driving past there. I'm like, you know what? One day I'm going to stop in there. I'm going to talk to them. And finally, one day I did. Now, here's what happens. I get out of my truck and they see me getting out. And the first thing they're thinking is, okay, this is cop. All right. So I had to get over to them and explain to them, hey, guys, I'm not the cops. Okay. So we got past that. And then I told them I was running for city council. And I asked them, I said, hey, what is your biggest issue around here? I knew what I thought they were going to say. I knew it was either going to be housing or policing. I knew it. I knew that's what they were going to complain about. And they looked right at me. And this is what they said, Miss Tracy. They go, hey, you see that road right there? I said, I do. They go, that thing floods up every time it rains. I would have never put that in mind that was their biggest complaint. So I say that because and third parties are the worst about it. That's what they do. They make presumptions and assumptions about what they think. And then we go and we project what we think the problem is onto other people. Here's what I found. Sometimes if we shut up and allow people to talk, they'll tell us. And then that's when we should go, instead of saying, oh, I think your problem is this, this, and this, we let them talk. And then we start realizing, you know what, their issues are different and not what I thought. And I think that now the other two parties are big enough where they can move the narrative. Third parties, we don't have that luxury. So the way that we can make a change as third parties is listen and then come up with real answers for what they're really dealing with. Because we don't get to make the narrative. We're not big enough for that. We don't have the support around for those type of things. So we have to learn to do the system in a way that we can make it work for us.
Exactly. So now I want to kind of gear the conversation towards issues.
Okay.
So there is a contest that not a contest. I've often said on this show that Indiana has the worst governor in the United States. He is hapless. He is hopeless. He is basically a clown. But Governor DeSantis is a real close second. And so what I want to get to is an issue that is closer to your state than it is mine, and that's immigration.
Okay.
I was on your Facebook page, and it was something that kind of stood out, to me, where you said you agree with what Trump is proposing in terms of some of his immigration reforms, but not to go as far as he has
Oh,
went. Can you
okay.
explain exactly what you mean when
Yes.
you
All right.
say that?
Now, hang on. I did not say I agree with what Trump is doing. I agree. I'm a closed borders libertarian. Okay. So I'm a closed borders guy. Now, because here's what happens: you can't have an open border and a welfare state at the same time. Doesn't work. You go broke. Okay.
Right, because that's what Trump
So
is for, closed borders, right?
yes, but here's what I often say. When I say closed borders, everybody goes to this mindset of we're not letting anybody in, and they're just, and then you get the racist card, you get all of the name calling, and I go, hang on, hang on. I had a guy earlier today on Facebook get on there, and because he disagreed with something I said, he started throwing out the racist card and all these type of things. It was a black guy saying that to me. Now, my son is black. My grandson, which I think I hear about there right now, is black. So the racist card doesn't really work well on me. Now, here's the thing. So when I say I want closed borders, I'm an Ellis Island. This is a good way to explain. I'm an Ellis Island type of border. Now, here's what that means. We check in. Every country has borders. We have a right to maintain borders. Now, you check in. Hey, what are you doing here? What is your intent? I think that's perfect. Anywhere I go, I get asked that. I can't just loiter inside of a restaurant down here. At some point, they're gonna go, hey, dude, why are you here? What's going on? Get out. So here's what happens. I suggest you check in. If everything's fine, dude, come on in. We're good. There's no issues here. Okay. But if there's issues, now I will tell you this. Now, I do want to mention this is out of the scope, obviously, of city council. Okay. So this is just us talking at this point. This is not about my race, obviously, because I have no say on immigration. But if you just say, hey, why are you here? And I actually have kind of a solution for the immigration problem. Okay. So you can't, honestly, you can't round up however many million people there are that are here illegally. So here's what I've suggested. I said, listen, let's put a date down. Say 18 months. Say 18 months from today. Okay. Everybody who's here illegally has to come check in. Now, I believe that there doesn't have to be one point. Put these points all around the country, all along the border, everywhere. So it's not just one little area they got to funnel into. And privatize it also. Get the government out of it. Put all of these places up and down the East Coast. Put them all up and down the West Coast. Put them along the southern border. Put them along the northern border. People come and they check in. Now, if you're here in this country illegally, you have 18 months. Come check in. Hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I'm working. I haven't done anything. I got no crimes against me. I got no crimes wherever I'm coming from. Feel free to stay. Now, I'm not saying this is a path to citizenship. I'm not saying that. But be here. Keep working. Listen, I know some illegal immigrants right now. You know who they're harming? Nobody. Nobody at all. They're yeah.
Right, but I think what I'm getting at, and I don't know if this is it must not be happening in Jacksonville. So there is going to be an ICE detaining center not in Indianapolis,
Okay.
but you might as well say Indianapolis because it's right there on the border. It's like, okay, this is in our city. And the city council is in charge of saying, okay, we're gonna give the building X millions of dollars to build it.
Hold on, city council's giving local money, local taxpayer dollars to that?
Absolutely
Not.
It's a proposal. It's
Absolutely
a proposal. I don't know if it's passed yet. They actually did it with data centers, which is I'll be talking about that on my Sunday show because that's a big, huge blow up that our mayor, who originally had came out against data centers, which again, I still have to understand what purpose because I'm like, okay, you're building these you're wasting all this water. There's this big yellow thing in the sky. It's called the sun. You can't figure out how to use it. Okay, whatever. But he already had said he was against it, got some money from the people that want to build it, and now all of a sudden he just pushes it through without city council even he got some influential city council people to vote for it. One even got his home shot. So I'm going to be talking about that. That's Sunday's conversation.
Now, my big issue in that, I think maybe I already addressed it, is it's the idea of local taxpayer dollars for a federal issue. That's a federal issue. There's no reason why local taxpayers should be paying for that. And that's kind of where a lot of my stuff that I fuss about and want to protect is taxpayer dollars, because the government's already taking too much of our money and they're wasting it. So my thing is, I always tell people, the only way you're going to cut back government spending is to give them less money. That's the reality of it. So I am not a fan when any time, especially local government, wastes taxpayer dollars. Now, and that's, let me be very clear, that's not even addressing the detention center itself or the data center, which you guys are talking about. That's not addressing either one of those. That's simply saying, why is my local money being used for that? And to me, that's a stop. It does, so at that point right there, it doesn't make any difference what party you're in. It doesn't make any difference what you got going on. That's a federal issue. Take care of it with federal funding, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and it just all of a sudden started. So I'm definitely gonna go. And I just assumed, oh well, then doesn't the city council give them money to, like, for like trash pickup? The sanitation workers, they're paid a certain amount, the city pays them, and they're going. I guess I just assumed.
So you know it's funny that you mentioned trash. So I often say local government has two main priorities: pick up the trash and keep the traffic moving. That's it. That's the extent of what you need local government for. Take care of those two things.
And policing.
Okay, but listen, can we agree that policing doesn't always go well either?
Oh yes, I definitely can agree with that.
So inside, so there now listen, there are other functions of government, but your primary things are those. Because listen, when it comes to policing, now I tell people this all the time, okay? Because once I say what I'm about to say, I get lumped into a group, okay? Police don't always have it right, okay? And I usually refer to police as historians. They often don't prevent crime. They just come and take notes about it after. Now, once you start saying stuff like that, like right now, I'm doing a pretty hard pushback against our local police because there was a guy who was one of their inmates. They beat him to death. And they're not even talking about it. They will let it go. And people start saying things like, dude, what do? You can't just kill inmates. So whenever I make that stand, I get lumped into oh, well, you don't want police. And I said, listen, I'm going to be very clear with you. I can't tell you how many police officers I buy dinner for. So I don't hate the police. I hate some of the things that they do. Now, that goes into a lot of things. Like I can dislike some actions of somebody and still not hate them, which we have to learn that one in politics also. So inside of these things, I look at it and I go, there are certain things that the local government should be responsible for. Now, as we mentioned, trash collection. I have suggested that we privatize trash collection. Why is the government involved in trash collection at all? Do you know, like locally, here's what happens. I think we have 3 major companies in town that haul trash. And they put a bid into the city and the city pays them through taxpayer funds. And that's how they get handled. Nobody can just bust into that market. Like I go, hey, you know what? If there's a guy, 6 streets over who wants to go buy a trash truck and he wants to start grabbing customers and say, hey, let me remove your trash for you, he should be allowed to. Now, when I say that, do you understand how much things would change? Because now, here's what happened. If a guy comes and says, hey, I want to be your trash guy, he goes, you pay me, we'll say $10 a week. And maybe he says, hey, I'll come and I'll pick it up. I'll take the trash cans from your driveway. You don't need to bring them down. And then once a month, I'll rinse them out for you. I'll pay up for that service because now I'm actually getting something for it. Now, imagine if that could be done. Starts new businesses, starts competition. We know competition always makes things better. You give government full control and they take full control. Now, the backstop for that is, okay, what happens if people don't do the private trash? Well, then you're still on the city roll. And your taxes will still pay for that. You're still responsible to the city. You can't just have trash piling up. So my thing is always, how do we find a way to not have government do it? And here's what I found. Get people involved.
I would also say, why not look into ways to recycle?
Okay.
Because you didn't mention it. And
so we have a recycling program here. I know a guy who used to work, he did maintenance on the trash trucks. Okay. So here's what we found out. He says, hey, because we have all these recycling bins and they have special collection days and they do all the things. And here's what was happening. They go to the same center and get thrown into the same trash. He says, most of the time, recycling is not recycling. They're not doing anything different. They're still just throwing them in the same hoppers down here. And I was like, oh, so listen, now, once again, if we want to talk about recycling and all those type of things, same thing can be done privately. The government is not the only people who know how to get trash picked up. We can, here's what I'm getting at. The more that we can privatize, the more that, guess what? We don't need tax dollars being collected. Because now, you know what? Getting into a local issue for me. Okay. So here's what we do. We do the same thing in cities that we do to DC. We send all of our money to DC so that we can beg to get a portion of it back into our districts again. Right now in Jacksonville, same problem. We're sending all of our money as taxpayers downtown. Now, downtown, these city council members and stuff, they're spending money on things that have nothing to do with our individual districts. So now the council members aren't even, in some of the districts, the council members aren't even trying to make the improvements that they should be doing with the funds that is being collected. They're pushing it towards other projects. And the individual districts and certain areas inside individual districts is being ignored. And so I have been going around saying, hey, I think it's time that we start getting some of our money back from downtown and putting it back into our districts. That, guess what? Well, like, we have an amazing park system here in Jacksonville. It's amazing. So as I'm going around and I'm talking to people, and a lot of what I'm trying to do, honestly, Miss Tracy, is I just want to talk to people. Tell me what you got. Like, I tell people all the time, I say, listen, I'm not going to have all of the answers, but I'm willing to have all of the conversations. Like, let's talk. And here's what I'm finding. So many of the issues here in the district are routine things. They're routine. It's drainage. It's potholes. It's trash collection. It's the fact that the parks aren't being kept clean. It's very basic type things. And so I'm like, how is it we can give money to a billionaire downtown to give him more money, but we can't take care of the people 20 blocks that way?
Yep, and you just got to my next question, because as a NFL fanatical fan, I
Okay.
know that Jacksonville, did they just build their stadium, or do they want to build a new
No,
stadium?
they just got, I'm going to turn my light on right here. So they just got their approval. So, supposedly it's being, if you look at it, it's being split. Okay. And when I say split, the owner of the team is putting money towards it. Okay.
And he's a billionaire, everybody. Keep this in mind. The guy's a bill. You can't own an NFL team if
It'd
you're
be
not a
broke.
billionaire.
Broke people are not owning NFL teams. You know, Chris Rock said it right a number of years ago. He goes, listen, he goes, you know, Shaq, he goes, that guy's rich. The guy who signs his check, he's wealthy. And that's exactly right. Like, okay, if you own an NFL team, you are wealthy. You are not poor at all. You're doing just fine. So here's what happens. So he wants to redo the stadium. Okay. Now here's the issue. The city owns the stadium. Okay. But we are responsible for upkeep. Now, upkeep doesn't mean a $1.4 billion upgrade. Okay. Upkeep says, hey, we're going to make sure everything's foundational. It's fine. The toilets are running. All those type of things are happening. That's what we're responsible for. So we've decided now here's what happened. He came with a plan of how he wanted to redo the stadium. And when he brought the plan to the city, nobody on the city side said, hang on, let's talk about this for a second. What are our options? They just went along with his plan, and they threw just under $1 billion of taxpayer dollars into the plan. And so many, listen, you got to understand, people don't go downtown. A lot of people don't go to Jaguars games. Okay. It's expensive to go to a football game. Okay. Which a lot of people in town cannot afford to go. Like, I tell people all the time, you don't want to live in an NFL city. You want to live in the city next to an NFL city.
Oh no, I live in an NFL city, and I went to an NFL game this year.
Oh, well, good for you. All right. So, but here's the thing.
Yeah, it took a while to say that. I was like,
right. It's out of hand. So what's happening now? So not only does this, now I have suggested, I got a couple things here. I have suggested that we sell the stadium to Shad Khan. Shad Khan owns other stadiums. He owns a stadium over in England. He was trying to buy Wimbledon. Like, he owns stadiums. He owns the soccer team over there, owns the stadium for it. I'm like, let's sell him the stadium. Because I promise you that, because right now, the only events that happen down here at this stadium are his games, which are 8 a year, which actually are only 7 games because he plays one over in Europe, which now they're going to play 2 games over in Europe. So that's another game that we lose. Okay. And then they have a college football game. And then we have the Florida Georgia game. And then we have one bowl game that happens here every year. That's really about it. Nothing else happens around that stadium. So he basically has full use of that stadium, except for two days of the year. Now, keep in mind, you talk about 6 home games. 6 home, because people go, well, look at how much people they employ. They employ a number of people that are all very much part-time work. It's 6 days out of the year for 3 hours. It's not, nobody is providing for their family and sustaining their family off of working at the stadium. So I said, sell it to them. Now, here, I promise you, because Shad Khan knows exactly what he's doing, okay? He would have events there every single weekend. He would make sure if he owned that, he was reaping the financial benefits of it, there would always be something going on. Now, the area would benefit because now we're no longer having to pay for what's going on there. It's on him. Now we would reap the benefits of having the events in that downtown area far more than what's going on. Now, as if that's not enough, he wanted a practice field separate from the stadium. We just got done building that. Taxpayers give $62 million towards that. Now, right now, he's in the process of building a 4 Seasons hotel that we have now given $120 million towards that. Now, right as they put in this proposal for this hotel, for him to have the funding for this, up in Nashville, they had just built a 4 Seasons with 0 taxpayer dollars. And yet here in Jacksonville, we're helping that billionaire again, who's building that hotel. We're giving him.
So, wait a minute, let me make sure I'm understanding this right. So he wants a new stadium.
Yes.
And a practice field, which my question would be, why can't you just practice on the field that you play on? But okay, that's just me being silly. So he wants a practice field, 62 million, then probably a new stadium, 500 million.
No. We're on for over 900 million of our part.
Oh, 900 million. I'm sorry. So
Yep.
62.
Yep.
900 million.
Yep.
Then plus a hotel. Where does he think you all are getting this money from?
Because here's what happens. Unfortunately, he owns our local government.
Apparently.
There are gentlemen that, okay, remember when I said I was running with these guys and they got into office and they haven't done any of the things? There were gentlemen, and I know these guys, and I like these guys. They got on city council. And one of the things they were specifically asking us the last cycle around was, would we give money towards the stadium? And I was always a hard no. Absolutely not. We'll do what we're responsible for. That's it. These other guys were like, yeah, we're not going to give the money for that either. We're not going to do it. And then they got in there and voted for all that funding. They went completely. So I don't know what's happening that Shad Khan owns our city council and our mayor so much. I don't know what he's doing.
I can answer that question. Oh, I can answer that really quickly. If they took the money, they were going to vote for him the whole time. He put money into their campaign.
I wouldn't doubt it. Listen, I'm not going to say yes because I can't say for sure, but we know.
I mean, that's a 1 + 1 = 2.
Yes.
Because if you like you are gonna vote the way you're gonna vote, nobody's gonna change it. That's what you intend to do. You've said it the whole time. Everybody's not like that. A politician will, especially a Democrat, but it's a Democrat, Republican, they'll look you right in the face and say, "We're for ending wars."
And
Wars
look at us now.
And then illegally drop bombs on a country that literally has done nothing to us, but will still say they want peace.
So, all right.
See, sometimes people
now,
think.
all right, let me say this, Miss Tracy. I'm running for city council. Okay, so city council has no say in foreign wars, but I have plenty of opinions on it. Like, here's what I'm gonna tell you. I have been very much against all of this. Listen, for a guy who says I'm the peace president and no more wars, he sure is doing a horrible job of no more wars. And so, like, my argument has been, I don't know if you see my Facebook page or not, and here's what happens. So I will get on there and I will say something bad about, hey, this is none of our business. Let Iran be Iran. They weren't a threat to us. I will still hold to that one. They were not a threat to us. Okay. Now, if we want to go a step further, I would say, hey, listen, Israel had some problems with Iran, and here we are. Now, with that, I look at it and I go, we are funding. We're broke. As a country, we are broke. How do we have money to afford to anything near a war? We don't have the funding for something like that. And isn't it funny? Somehow we do. And
Always.
so,
And yet when we say give money to the poor, oh, well, wait a minute, we got to cut SNAP because that's too much. But here's the thing. You might want to look at this because I just learned in my state, and I literally was like, I say today years old, but I learned this a couple of months ago, that the state of Indiana gives $110 million to Israel. Didn't
why?
know it, had no idea. No idea. I found
But
that out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you
once,
kidding me?
and the thing is,
110 million.
how did you find out about that?
I did some research.
And they know
If
that
it
people
wasn't
aren't
for
going to,
me
because
being
people
curious,
don't do that. People don't do what
yeah,
you
if it
just did.
wasn't for me being curious, because I heard somebody say, and I'm like, this can't be true. There's no way. Because the week before that, or a couple weeks before that, our governor, he only wants to keep people on Medicaid for 3 years total, and that's it. That's what he's calling a lifetime. You can only be on Medicaid for 3 years total. That's all he wants.
Okay.
And he's like, well, Indiana, that has a $1 billion surplus. We have a surplus. We have money just sitting there, not doing
Okay.
anything. But
Government gets a surplus because they took too much money from us. That's how, like, people don't
right,
understand
won't
that.
spend it,
The only
won't
reason
spend it.
government doesn't make money. At
This
best,
is
they
correct.
print it. They don't make it. They take it. So
Exactly.
we
So
have the same thing here. Same issue here in Florida. We have a
I was doing
surplus.
it's the same thing because, like I said, we have $1 billion surplus. No, I think it's more than, I think it's almost close to 2 billion. But anyway, when I learned that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you literally the same? If I would look into that, how much money? Because I guarantee Jacksonville is giving something.
See if you
I'm
find out. If you
about.
get, just look at that, and you let me know what you find out, because I would see. Now
Well, you
here's the
live in Jacksonville. I don't. I live in Indiana.
right. So here's what I'm getting at. So I think we started to discuss this before we came on, when we were talking before we came on. And remember how I said, listen, I'm not a fan of government paying for things in people's lives. I'm not a big fan of government handouts. Okay. But I think I mentioned, I said, but we have money for all of these other things like that. There's an example right there that your state is giving $110 million to a country. Okay. We'll use your example for a minute. So you have $110 million inside of your state that you can give over there. Now, my thing is, if we have that kind of money to be wasting on those things, I would rather at least keep that money back at home and help our people here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a lot of homeless vets. I would much rather help a homeless vet get off the street than to worry about funding anything that's going on in another country.
I agree with you. But then our governor makes homelessness illegal and says
We
if
did it
you
here.
sleep on a park bench, they can arrest you. Don't build more homes. Don't rehab more homes. Don't get housing programs to make people not homeless. Let's just put them in jail so that the prisons that we pay money to can. I'm just like, I
Okay.
don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up. I'm like,
The
people,
prison
wake up, wake up, wake
the
up.
prison system is a whole nother system. That's a whole nother thing. That alone, you could spend all of your time focusing on the downfalls of the prison system, because I truly believe they don't rehabilitate anybody. In fact, they make people into more criminals. What happens is this, okay? I'll tell you, I've ran locally here. And so, like I said, right over across the way, it's a heavy black. My district is a heavy black district. It is. That's why it's heavy Democrat. Okay. So one day I was talking to a guy. There were two guys. They were out putting signs down for a guy who was running against me. And I just started talking to him. I said, hey, this guy's name was Jack Meeks. I said, hey, what are you doing with Jack? He goes, oh, yeah, I like him. Now, bear in mind, Jack was paying them to go put signs out. Okay. So these weren't just volunteers. These were guys who were getting paid for it. I go, okay, well, why do you like him? And they go, well, he kind of does good things for the community. I'm like, what? I'm like, what does he do? And it's the typical, they don't really know. So here's what I remember I said to these two guys, okay, young black guys. I said, hey, I said, have you or anybody you know been arrested for marijuana use? Yes. And they have. They've been. So now here's what happens. Now, can we agree? Now, listen, I say this with a caveat. I've never smoked weed, never been high. Okay. That's not because of my faith. Long before I ever had my faith, I didn't care. But here's what happens. Weed is a big issue because people get arrested for it all the time. And now they have a criminal record. And once they have that criminal record, guess what? It's harder for them to move forward in life. And unfortunately, a criminal record leads to more crime. Now, I'm not justifying crime, but that's what it leads to. Then here's what happens. the more, and I will say the Black community specifically, the more that they can separate that Black community, get Black fathers in jail, separate that family. Now that woman is there going, how do I take care of my family? Well, the government steps in to fill that void. Now, bear in mind, government caused that void. Government put them in jail. So I told these guys, I said, hey, how different would things be if marijuana use wasn't illegal? How much of that would change your neighborhood? And then they were like, well, a lot of things would change. I go, like what? They go, well, we'd have jobs because I'm not locked up and I wouldn't have a criminal. And they started walking through the process and they started going, wait a minute. And so the point was a government handout isn't fixing the problem. A government handout is keeping you on the line to government. What I want to do is make you be able to live your life without government intrusion, and allow you to reach your God-given potential. That you can do the things without government intrusion and live your life and watch how much better you would be. So when you start thinking government's going to give me this and my life is going to get better, it's actually the opposite. Government gets you hooked on government. Government becomes the drug of the community. And people get hooked on government, and government holds them there. And you know the beauty of government holding you? You will vote for whoever gives you the most stuff. And so ultimately what they've done is they've bought votes by giving people free stuff. And that process is never going to go away, because here's what happens. The first one who comes in and says, we're going to stop those handouts, that's political suicide. And so now all that happens is that just keeps growing. And so what I would rather do, locally first, let's find a way that we can make government run more efficiently, that we give you more freedom, that you can run your life in such a way that you know is best for you. Because I'm going to tell you this right now, Miss Tracy, nobody can run your life better than you can run your life. And it's certainly not government. So imagine if we could get government out of the way and say, we're going to let Miss Tracy live her life. And so long as she's not hurting other people and taking from other people, let her go about her business. Things change. And it's not because of government handout. It's actually the opposite of that.
Second last thing, I
Yes.
could not find your website at all. I didn't see it. You do not have one.
No, I have one. It's tubforliberty.com.
Okay, so if you could send that to me
I
through
will.
Messenger, I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
go back and, well, hopefully I can do it, but I may not be able to, because I
That's
look, I
fine.
saw your Facebook page, but I'm like, well, where's the
Do I not?
website? Because
It should have been on. Now you got me looking. I'll take a look after. It should be on there. Tubforliberty.com is the website though.
yeah, I could not find it because I'm always interested in reading people's pol politicians'
Policies
platforms
and issues.
and
Yes,
kind of
ma'am.
discussing, what they're going to do about housing, which I think our homelessness, we ultimately should be ashamed of ourselves that we have any homeless people,
Now
period.
we have, obviously, because the side of our city, we have a homeless issue here. Obviously, with this many people, you're going to have homeless issues. Now, inside of that, here's the thing: people try to oversimplify the homelessness issue. I don't know there's any one good answer for it, and people are like, but there's got to be something. If it was so easy, it'd have been solved by now. Okay. And so I look at it's a tough issue. Like, we can think of a bunch of things. Now, I'll give you an example. So just recently, within the past month or so, our city council and mayor put up a program. They put a couple $1,000,000. It's 2 or 3. It wasn't a large amount. They put like $2 or $3 million for low income housing for loans. I don't like it, but I'm not against it. Good. Make something affordable. And it's a loan. It's a low interest loan. They pay it back. Great. What bothered me with that is, I'm like, wait a minute. We make loans for low interest for people who are to get into homes. They get a loan, but the billionaire gets a handout. And that bothers me. And so once again,
Absolutely.
we come
I,
back to
I
the We come
Yeah,
back to
I
the
believe the
issue of
answer is more comprehensive. You're going to have to take a little of
it's a
this and a
lot.
little of that and a little of this and a little of that and put it all
And
together because there's
and
not just one solution.
and there is an unfortunate truth with life. People tend to appreciate what they've worked for. And if they didn't work for it, they kind of take advantage and take it for granted. Now, I'll give you an example. So when I taught at the school, we had a number of scholarship kids, step up for students, stuff along those lines. And so there was always a difference from the parents who got the scholarship versus the self-pay. The self-pay parents would come in and be like, if my kid does anything, you let me know, we're going to fix that problem. And a number of the scholarship kids, because it was free money given to them, they didn't have those same expectations. So here's what happens. The reality of it is, yes, and in fact, you probably hear about it all the time. People win the lottery and then they're broke not too long thereafter because they don't know how to handle that. So there is always the side of, if I just give you a house, are you going to be able to take care of it? Because home ownership has responsibilities. It's not just, I got a free house and now I'm done. I spend money every month taking care of the house. It's not free. It's not cheap. So there are expenses a lot of times people aren't ready for. So I think that when homelessness in particular, when we throw out this, oh, here's an easy fix, it's not an easy fix. And so I don't get too, I don't want to say this. I want to make sure I say it the right way. I don't get too angry at government as they struggle to come up with the answers for homelessness because it's not easy. Like there's a lot of moving parts inside. It's not so easy of just give them a place because
Well,
then who gets the place? Like of
yeah,
all the
like,
homeless people.
here's what I'll say.
Uh-huh.
If they can find tax breaks for billionaires and give corporations who are literally billion-dollar corporations not paying taxes, you can miss me with the we can't find solutions. It's because you don't want to. I ultimately believe when you want to do something,
You get it done.
you're going to make some type of effort to do it. And I'm still trying to find your website. I did a Google search and I still can't find it.
She's like, you're
I'm
saying
like,
that. I don't want to hear like my website's not working. Hang on.
yeah, I do not see it. And I literally type, is it tough? The number 4
No,
Liberty or the
FOR.
word?
The word
Okay,
for it.
that's what I typed. And it's nothing coming up. I see Moms for Liberty, uh, something in Missouri. I'm like, well,
Hang on. I want to make sure we're working right. Because if not, I'm going to get hold of my website, guys. Say, hey, no, there it is. Tough for
okay, if
Liberty.
you could put that in the private chat so I can at least tell people
Okay.
how to visit. Because I know that campaigns, you know, we don't have publicly financed elections.
Right.
We do not. I'm for it. I'm all for public. You know, that's what I'm for it. I think it's a great idea. I I think that politicians use let's cut Citizens United as an excuse because I don't see the Supreme Court ever cutting that down. Um,
Once again,
campaigns need
I'm
money.
city council. So
I know, but even at the city council level, you still have to get, you know,
like
um,
here's the thing. So I know
radio ads and
I discussed some immigration stuff and everything, and I usually try to as best I can. Like if I'm going out and I'm talking to people and stuff, I always want to kind of say, "Hey guys, I'm city council. Like I have a lot of opinions on these things, but ultimately it doesn't fit into the office of what I'm running for. If I'm running for Congress, these are conversations I should be having with everybody all the time." So I always kind of remind people, "Hey, like people will ask me, hey, how do you feel about abortion?" I says, "Well, I'm running for city council." So you know what I'm saying? Like city council has no say in any of those type of things. And so what's happening is I think that's why we're losing focus on local politics. We're trying to make everything about what's the national thing, and we're allowing the local politics to fall aside. And then guess what they're doing? They're running corruption. They're running and not doing the things you want them to because you're too busy not paying attention to the things they should be focused on.
I can see where you're coming from. Like I said, I see your Facebook page, which is what I'm about to put up,
Okay.
but I still cannot find this website.
Listen, I'm not lying to you. I promise you, Miss Tracy, it's there. Like I said, it just came up for me. I'll take a look when we're done. I'll look because I know we're almost done.
Is that it? Is
That's
that
me. Yes, ma'am. That's fine. Yep, that's me.
okay?
So they can use that one right there to find me on Facebook and find all the stuff that's going on. And I'll
And
make sure.
just so you know, there's no website link on there.
Okay. Now
And
you're
I
making,
just
listen, now you're making me go do work. All right.
you're the one running for office, not me.
All right. I will take a look at it. Oh, you know what? Right now, showing my mail at Tub for Liberty on there, right? You can see that. So I will. You're right. It's not showing up on it. It's not even showing up on Facebook. I will fix that as soon as we're done. Because I got a podcast at 9:00 today, so I will fix that as soon as we're done here.
Yep. So again, what final words do you want to say? How do people well, I already put it up your Facebook, but what other ways can people reach you on social?
Okay, so in all honesty, I have a Twitter account. I hate Twitter. I ain't gonna lie to you. I hardly ever go on there and use it because if people want to say it's because I'm old, which maybe I am, I don't know. But Twitter's a cesspool. It just, and I'm not even saying that in my faith base. I'm talking about just period. All they ever do is just fight and argue. And I would rather, in all honesty, I'd rather have solutions. I'd rather be like, okay, it's great. What are the problems? Great. We don't have to keep arguing about the problem. We all agree it's a problem. How do we fix it? So it comes to a point, and that just doesn't happen on Twitter. So you can find me on Twitter, but I wouldn't worry about it. So you have that Facebook page right there. And then I have another one that's very specific to the campaign, and that's Tub for 10. So it's Facebook Tub for 10. If you want to, you can post it up. I'll get it up there. But those are the ones. Other than that, I kind of don't mess with them. And then my website, which is Tub for Liberty, Tub, FOR, Liberty.com.
I want to thank you so very much. This is your second appearance on my show. I think I've interviewed you. Yeah, no, this is your first. This is no, I know who it was that I interviewed before, and why I'm getting you two mixed up and you look nothing alike, I don't know. I don't know why I did that, but this is my first time interviewing you. But it was somebody else I was trying to get, and they were like, "No, it doesn't work." But
so I supposed to get a gift or something since it's my first time?
No, because I've interviewed several people more than once.
Okay.
And so I thought, oh well, this is the way we're going back and forth. I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's like we're old friends and we're sitting back and having coffee. No, we have not.
This is it.
But that's okay. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been one of the better discussions I've had with a libertarian. So hopefully we all will stay on this track. And keep up the good work. But just a couple of announcements. April the 23rd, there will not be a guest. I want everybody to look at me and be really serious. That is because that is the NFL draft. I will be on, but I will not talk anything. I will not talk politics that day. It's just who got drafted first, second, third. I'll probably go to the 10th. Also remember that in May, which again, I'm still looking for guests for May, the show will move to 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's one, because I need to start exercising. And so I'm going to go swimming. And that takes at least an hour. So I will be moving the show to 8:00 in May. And on that third Thursday in May, we'll do the after party, which will be around 9:00. And you were going to say something.
Oh, remember I told you I'd see if I can help you get some people for May. But here's somebody you can reach out to. Her name is Addison Patrick. On Facebook, she's Addison Liberty Patrick. She's a libertarian who's running in Jacksonville. So that'd be a great one for you to follow up with.
Okay, and I'm going to have to, let me go here because I'll have to type it in. You said Addison?
Addison Liberty Patrick. She has a campaign page also, but that's one I always remember is her primary page. You see it?
Does she have blonde hair?
She does. Listen.
Okay, then I see her page. Okay.
You reached out to me. You did a great job reaching out to me. Reach out to her, and I will let her know that you're going to reach out to her.
I will do that. And again, if she comes on, I would still need, what are there, 5 Thursdays in May or 4?
Okay. Well, listen, so here's what I'll do. We have a guy who does a lot of our stuff for our podcast. It's coming on in a few minutes. So we have a guy who does a lot of our scheduling. He does a lot of candidates, libertarians. So what I will do is his name is Joe Hanoush. I will reach out to him and see if he can help you get some people filled up for May. But I think if you can reach out to Addison, I got a feeling she'll jump right on with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So everybody, thank you. Remember to subscribe. We are up to 411. That means we are 89 away from 500. Once I hit that 500, we're just 500 away from 1,000. 1,000 is the goal, but we want to get to 500 because 1,000 has been my goal for 5 years, and obviously I have not reached it. So we're gonna just get to 500 first. Then we'll worry about getting to 1,000. But hit that subscribe button. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, like, share, comment, subscribe, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you all so very much. I will see you all next week. Have a fantastic evening. Bye bye.